folks. Welcome to another edition of the Bison Break podcast. Today, I have real treat today. I have Coach Shaun Kupferberg on the Bison Break podcast. So let's welcome him on. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Doing great. Great to be on the broadcast.
So just to kick it off, where did you grow up and how did that affect you as a person interested in volleyball?
Yeah, so I grew up in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
And so outside, for those actually in Chicago, I was actually out in the suburbs in Schaumburg, but in that area. And I was a basketball, football player growing up, got to high school and basically had no spring sports. So people either wanted to run track or do something, baseball. A group of us decided to try out for the volleyball team. So
that's quite a pivot.
Well, the thing was, in Chicago, it's cold in the spring sports, so we didn't want to run. Nobody really wanted to run outside. Running wasn't a big thing, and baseball was sort of the kids that grew up just playing baseball all the time. And for somebody that's used to a contact sport, it seems a little boring. And volleyball was just a new sport, something to do and keep us busy. This was before we were playing year-round sports all the time with all these different leagues and AAU tournaments. So we were just keeping busy in the spring, and we were like, okay, we might as well try some volleyball, and that's where we started.
Wow. Now, back then, if you would have thought about it, you would have thought volleyball would be something that you would have made a career out of?
Probably not. I was definitely a football guy all the way. That was my main bread and butter.
Is that embarrassed?
Oh yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, I should say right now, but hopefully we got a bright future ahead of us. But yeah, I was diehard football all the way. My son's name is Peyton, my firstborn after Walter Payton.
Oh,
so,
right.
So we got that all the way through. But yeah, and then as I grew up, I was somebody that could jump pretty well back in the day. So volleyball worked itself into my skill set pretty easily, and I was able to join the volleyball team and continue growing. And it just seemed like something that grew through college. And I went to Miami University and had the opportunity to coach there. Wow. While I was a student, I was coaching a club team there, and it's something that it just happened along the journey. It wasn't something that was planned. I was always wanted to be a football coach. That was something that I wanted to do.
Right.
Be drawing plays in my notebook growing up. And
you were already thinking about being a coach. But you wanted to be a coach.
I mean, you remember back in the day, like I'm throwing it way back, we used to have Tecmo Bowl and these things, these arcade games, and yeah, you can trying to design plays and all that stuff. And I'd go in my coach's offices and be like, hey, let's run this or do that, and they would always shoot me down. It didn't matter, but I was always thinking along those lines and excited about it, and it just presented its way during college and was off and running. Yeah.
The funny thing is, you brought up Tecmo Bowl, and I remember I just saw a video on Instagram where I think it was what's the guy from Family Guy, and he was actually using Bo Jackson. And remember Bo Jackson? Everyone wanted to use Bo Jackson, and then you can run all the way to the other end of the end zone and wait for the computer to come, and then you ran all the way back. And he was like, "I'm going to kill the clock," and he literally did it for 3 minutes. Yeah. And it was like one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah, those were the days before we had real graphics or anything else.
Yeah. And we spent hours doing that stuff too, right?
Yeah, great.
So growing up, tell me, what were some of the biggest influences that you had, that really have helped mold the person that you have become today?
Yeah, I mean, obviously my father was a big influence on me. He was very practical about everything that we did and sort of kept us down to earth. And he was my biggest role model growing up. Obviously, I just said my firstborn's name is Peyton. He was a big influence in my life. Wow. Got to meet him luckily a few times and have some conversations. But he was a big influence in my life as well, just as far as an athlete's concerned is how he handled himself on the field and just handing the ball to the ref, sort of like Barry Sanders as well, and those types of people. I grew up in the Michael Jordan heyday, and so I had a lot of great athletes around Chicago growing up.
Because you're right there, Chicago, and then you got to grow up watching the dynasty. Actually, I remember I would watch it. Being here at DC metro area, we would watch the games on WGN. So that's how I got a chance to actually watch a lot of the Bulls games.
Mm-hmm.
But you're like firsthand, like immersed in the culture. Like you're right there. This is Chicago.
Those were all the championships. Were like junior high, high school, college years, all straight through. We were Jordan all the way through, and got spoiled. Now we're in a sort of a slump for a while, but we'll take it. Those are some glory years.
Not as bad as the Wizards, though. So
Jordan came over here for the end of his career. You guys got the end.
You have a caveat there, so okay. Because if I start talking about the Wizards, this is going to be a very depressing podcast right now.
Yeah. So it was a great time growing up in Chicago around that time. Like I said, had a great family, had some great role models in sport as well, and we're able to start pushing forward. Now
you were, you're in college. I mean, you're in high school, and you're playing sports year round. Like, what led you to choose the University of Florida as a place to go?
Miami University.
Miami University.
And that's in Ohio, not in Florida. So we'll always separate that out. So University of Miami is in Florida. Miami University is in Ohio.
Yes, I do remember.
So Miami University, we like to say, was founded before Florida was even a state. So it's an older university, and unfortunately, we had that name discrepancy all the time.
Right. So what made you choose there as opposed to any other university?
Yeah, I was looking to play volleyball. I was looking to do some different things. I was originally supposed to go a ways out of state, and was in town in Cincinnati for Thanksgiving obviously Thanksgiving weekend. Mm-hmm. And my aunt had gone there, and she's like, just come take a visit over here. And I took a visit, and it just felt like home. And that's what I tell the recruits. Like, if we go there, it. And Howard's one of those places too, but it just felt right. I don't know why it felt right. It just felt right. And all those plans to go other places sort of went by the wayside. And I ended up heading to Miami and being in Ohio, which I never would have guessed as we were starting the whole process. But that's what happened. And I mean, you can't ask for better. Miami is known as the cradle of coaches. There's some amazing NFL coaches throughout the years, and football coaches in general. That's this nickname, is cradle coaches, and volleyball coaches as well. We have a ton of D1 and professional coaches that have come out of there. So it's weird because there's no like major for that in college, but it seems to be a lot of great coaches that come out of that university. So.
Wow. Well, speaking of coaching, so you mentioned that you started coaching while you was a student there.
Yes.
How did you kind of morph into that role, while you were, being a student athlete?
Yeah, well, my athletic abilities were tapped out. I wasn't good enough to be an athlete anymore at that level. I mean, I tried a couple things and it didn't work out. And so they offered me an opportunity to coach the club team there, and started off with the number 4 team. And after that first year, we were the number 2 team in that spot. And then they offered me to coach the number 1 team after that. And we ended up being the number 1 team in the country for a couple of years. And
And
what so it was pretty cool. It was a great thing. It was a lot of fun. I got to coach with the varsity team help out with the varsity team as well. Coach Condit over there is a Hall of Fame coach, and she allowed me to cut film back when we had VHS films and had 20 different decks of VHS converters and starting and stopping and recording films. So sort of worked on the backside for the varsity team as well at the same time. And once we were graduating, it was one of those things where people were offering me opportunities to coach at the college level. So I was 21 and getting opportunities to coach college teams, and I wasn't part of the plan. I got married a week after I graduated college, and people were offering us jobs. My wife was going to go to grad school, so we're like, okay, where in the country do we want to go? And so that's sort of how the journey started. We figured, hey, let's give this coaching thing a try where you're going to grad school, and just let it roll.
Wow. So, you were doing that, and then how did you get into? You weren't doing volleyball at that point, right?
Yeah, that was all volleyball.
All that was volleyball. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So with that, as you transitioned in, how did you, how did Howard become on your radar?
Oh, Howard. So I went right after there. I graduated from university, and I went and we started our lives out in Seattle at a place called Northwest University, which is a small Bible college
Okay.
just outside Seattle in Kirkland, Washington.
Okay.
So that's where we sort of started, and I was able to work in a lot with another mentor of mine, Jim McLaughlin, who is another Hall of Fame coach, just went in the Hall of Fame this last year, has won national championships, and he was nice enough to allow me to sort of sit in their practices, and pretty much every day I would go over there, watch their practices, watch how they did things, got some ideas, and bring them back to our school. Once again, I was able to build up that program to be a top 10 in the country program at the NAIA level.
Wow.
And then from there, went over to Jacksonville University and then up here to Howard. So came up to Howard. Howard was always had a place in my heart from just friends talking about it in high school. High school, what I knew about Howard was I knew it was an HBCU, and I also knew it was a place for excellence. Mm-hmm. It was a place for people that wanted to be great. And so that's really what I knew. I knew that if that was true, then we could build a team here, because people that want to be great at academics usually want to be great at athletics as well. And so there was something to build around, and I was really excited. The AD at the time, Skip Perkins, offered me the position, and him and Shelly Davis were in charge at the time. They offered me the position and let me run. I sort of said, like, can I just do what I need to do? And they were like, okay.
So what did that involve? I mean, you kind of said, year one, you had some challenges, one game, right? And then
that was a beautiful game. Don't forget about that game.
I'm sure it sticks in your mind, right?
It does. It might have been the best win we've ever had here.
So you made that conversion. You made a jump the second season. So what was that entail? They pretty much gave you the keys, said, hey, run with it. What did you do to orchestrate that change? Because that's a big change. You almost went a 20-game change, Yeah,
it was like, I think 21 games. We got 21 more wins the next year. But I think the biggest thing was we set a standard, and a standard of excellence of what we weren't going to drop below. We had a great group of young women that were here at Howard University when we came, as far as their mental focus and what they put in as far as the training work. And you had Sada Conway and Stephanie Schultes, and a lot of people like the Skinner and Megan, and all these people were here that were working hard, and they never really got to see the fruits of the labor, which is one of the big sadnesses I have, because they left before we won our first championship. But then we brought in this great recruiting class as well, a large recruiting class, headlined by Catherine Broussard, who was All-American at the time. And she, along with the rest of the group, sort of put that energy into the program that sort of matched the discipline that the other group had, and was able to push us forward that next year. And once we got rolling, they knew we put in the work. They had the confidence because they had worked hard. They knew what it took, and they did everything we asked. And when we got to those games, those match points, they knew that they had worked harder than anybody else they were playing against, and pushed through.
Let me ask you this, because you mentioned that a significant contribution or contributor to the success was the recruitment class. What was that like? You pretty much, this is your second year coaching at Howard. What was that process like to get those, those top recruits in that really helped separate the team from the previous year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and that was the third college program I had taken over, and I'd sort of done the same thing at all three, which is that first year it's really important to get a really good group of players. So when I got to Howard, we found Kat that was really just a superstar in her own right. And she was from New Orleans, and a lot of our recruits for that year. So we went down to New Orleans and we're like, okay, Kat. Kat's coming here. We're going to be good. You guys want to join us. And so we had Dom Cleggett, and we had Janae Hampton, and we had Morgan Marlborough that all jumped on that ship, all out of there, that all ended up being starters and main contributors for us over the next 4 years. That all jumped on board, and they were like, okay, they were not quite as developed, but they had the athleticism to play D1, and they figured it out. So that was great, a great start. And then we had, I don't know, like Whitney Fields and some other people from some other areas of the country that we supplemented around that, and were able to fill in the holes that we needed. And it was just a good group that was here to have fun and push the limits. And like I said, that group that was here before showed them the way from a discipline standpoint of, okay, this is what you have to do. And a lot of that group was still playing and still starting at that point, but they were able to show them what we had worked on the spring before. Spring is so important for our training situation. So they were able to show us what we put in place. Okay, yeah, we won one game, but we didn't win one game. That's not the story of that year. The story of that year was we were horrible at the beginning of the year. And every single game throughout the year, we got better statistically. We set up goals. We had 9 goals on the board. And every single week, the statistics got closer and closer to meeting those goals. And we won our second to last game of the season, I believe. We finally got to the point where we hit those goals and we met them and we won. And they were like, okay, if we can keep at this level, we can win. And then the next game, so we won on a Friday night, and then Sunday we were playing our last game of the year, and we almost won a second game right there. And so we went 5 and we lost in 5, but we almost finished with 2 wins after all that. So the progress that year wasn't just winning one random game. It was throughout the year, it grew and grew and grew and grew, and they had real confidence in what we were doing. And that sort of kept growing. And then when these freshmen came in, they were like, okay, freshmen, you keep doing this and we're going to be okay. And they just sort of kept going through.
Yeah, that incremental success, I mean, and then, and one of the great things about sports is you get those type of moments, because you start off and maybe you don't know as much and or you have some type of limitations, but when you set up realistic goals and start and measure yourself against what you were doing previously, you'll start seeing that incremental success. And then once you get to the end, you can almost look back and like, wow, I'm not there anymore. And then now you reset it where that benchmark is. And then what the beauty of what you're saying is that you got other people to buy into that. And then you get the team sports and that environment, that ecosystem where we're going to feed each other this level of success. And this is now the standard. And, and where I'm going to is that, moving forward is like from 2015 to 21, you guys were the MEAC champs. And it started with that foundation within that first year. Explain what that was like to go through that for that 5-year period. I mean, COVID did disrupt one of the seasons, but explain what that process was like.
It was exhausting. People don't recognize this, and we have a lot of success here at Howard now, and that's great. It's amazing, and it's got a lot of great history throughout all of our programs. But winning championships is exhausting because everybody expects you to win championships every year. And so anything less is a failure. Yeah. Automatically. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter who you beat. It comes down to one day on one night. And if you don't win, everybody's like, what's wrong? What happened this year? So all those years, it was the first year, it was amazing. The first year, everybody exploded and was excited. Second year, a little less so, but yeah, it was great. Awesome. And then as it keeps going, it's like more of an exhale than an excitement when you win. It's like, okay,
we did it.
Did what we were supposed to do. And I mean, 2 of the last 3 years, we won the regular season championship and we didn't win the tournament championship, and it felt like a failure. We won every single match this year. We lost. We swept every single match except for one this year, and we lost in the championship game. And everybody felt like we had failed. Right. We had probably the best, except for the ending season in Howard history. But it doesn't matter at that point because the standards have been moved all the way up here. So during that time, it was great. It's great. Everybody knew who the volleyball team is, and they still do. And walking around campus is amazing. And having that notoriety as a volleyball player and a volleyball program is great around the country. Everybody knows who we are still. We've put ourselves on another level of volleyball where everybody is aware of Howard volleyball at all times nationally. So they know what we're doing. They know who we're playing. We've beaten teams like Clemson and Rutgers and Virginia and all these Power 5 schools. And we've had teams in our gym in Oregon, Penn State, Stanford, tons and tons of Power 5 schools have come here and played. So we have that going already. And that's something that was amazing that came out of that and has continued throughout. But as far as the day-to-day part of it, it was like, okay, we need to grind because we know what our expectations are. And no matter, there's no excuses acceptable to not finishing this.
So what's the I mean, how is it recruiting, considering that we're not a Power 5 school, but you still have to pretty much compete to try to get those type of recruits now. Now we have NIL and all this other type of opportunities, I like to say.
Yes.
What is that process like now?
I mean, it hasn't changed that much. We're still competing. We don't compete against usually a lot of MEAC schools most of the times. Most of the times we're recruiting against the Power 4 schools for these athletes. And what they have to understand is this is an experience. And there's nothing better than a Howard experience. And that is something that will stick with you for the rest of your life. You can't buy that. You can't buy that when you're 40 and go back and be like, hey, I want to be a Howard undergrad and be around all of this Black excellence. It's just not something that's going to happen. So this is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
I tried to go back. It doesn't work.
Don't tell me you got 1 weekend a year.
I'm pushing toward 50. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. I wish I could go in my mind. I go back.
Exactly. So I mean, it's one of those things where you have to be talking about what is important to you right now. What are your priorities? What are you looking for? Are you looking for the big fancy state name across your chest, or are you looking for something that is culturally relevant to you and your family and your experience in growth? And that's really the conversations we have. Obviously, I'm a weird person to be having those conversations sometimes, just leading the program. But I think that it's something that we put at the forefront. At the time we went to our first championship, we were the first all African-American team to go to a championship I forgot what the stat was. It was in a long time, many, many years. Most of the teams that had won the MEAC were filled with foreign players. And everybody told us when we got here that you couldn't win a championship with an all Black team. We were told that multiple times, and that was something that we were convinced we were going to do, and that we did and have been doing. So it's something that we're very proud of, and we're very proud of our alums, what they've done outside of volleyball, but we're also proud of our coaching alums that have moved on to coach at USC and Iowa State and Oklahoma and do different things as well. So I think we're being a good springboard for success in a sport that up until a few years ago wasn't actually a bright light shown upon HBCUs. And I think we're very proud of what we've done to help accelerate that, along with the rest of the MEAC and the SWAC and the CIA and those types of programs. So we're excited about that. Volleyball is a by far the number one team sport in the country for females. So it's a massive sport. I just got done at a tournament out in Kansas City that had about, I think it was like 15,000 athletes there. And yeah, it's massive. It's like I said, biggest team sport by a lot. It's 30% more women play volleyball than basketball in high school. And I don't think most people recognize that, but it's a massive sport. And I think it's great to be one of the leaders as far as pushing that forward within this community.
And you mentioned, many people were saying that you couldn't win with an all-Black team. And you kind of alluded to something about having international players. Is that kind of what the trend has been more recently, that you have a lot more international players coming in and playing volleyball, or what you talking
about us here at Howard or in the MEAC or in general?
Just in general with volleyball.
In general, you have a couple, but like I said, the sport's growth over the last 25 years has been massive. So it's so all encompassing right now around the country that there's no other sport that has team sport that has within 100,000 number of players that volleyball does at the high school level. Wow. So it's a massive sport. Soccer's number 2, basketball's number 3, but they're all well behind. So it is something that is very, very popular, and it's growing within this coast. It sort of has done a lap around the country, and it still has room to grow. So
what do you think is funneling the growth?
What did you say?
What do you think is kind of funneling the growth, why it's expanded the way it is right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that part of it is the fact that it's unique in its sport where women play much more than men. It started off the opposite, but over the years, because of Title IX has sort of shifted that way. And I think that women enjoy having something for themselves. If you're in some other sports, whether it's basketball or softball, those are all great sports. And soccer, that all these young women grow up playing, but they're always compared to the men. You're compared. And your dad's sitting there and your dad's going, well, you should be doing this. And he always has something to say. And you listen to all these dads trying to teach their kids about volleyball. They want to so bad. And I know your dad, like, they want to be like, oh man, football, you should have got your hands on that ball. You got to catch it. You got to cut up field. You got to do this, that. But they don't know what to say in volleyball. So it's sort of their own world where they get to grab that and control it. I think there's a lot of different factors in it, but I do think that has something to do with it, is that they can be like, Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. I can't tell you how many. When I started playing volleyball, my dad was like, why don't you just stay front row all the time? You get kills all the time. Why don't you just stay front row? I'm like, because you have to rotate. It's just it's not the rules of the game. It's one of those things that they have. It's their own. I think that it's a great sport. It's a powerful sport, and it's an athletic sport that I think a lot of women just gravitate to. There's a lot of reasons for it that people have put towards why. But it's continuing every year. It's not like we're plateauing. It's continually growing and growing and growing, and we're excited about that.
Well, you know what? This year you had a remarkable feat. You had your 400th win this year. Explain what that feeling was like once you did that. Were you already kind of tracking it? Like, all right, I'm at 399. Just need this one, or what were you thinking once you actually did it, though?
You know, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I didn't even know it was happening. I don't track those things. Anybody that knows me, I don't wear championship rings. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm always looking forward. I don't really worry about. I figure when I retire, I'll worry about that stuff. I'm looking forward about what we're going to do this year and then next year. And so we're on to 2025 now, and worried about 2025 season. I don't really worry about 2024 all that much. It's nice. It means that I picked up some wins and met some amazing people along the way, and these young ladies have carried me to a lot of fun times over my career. But in reality, it just means I'm old. That's what it means.
I guess he can stay around a little while.
A little bit. So yeah, I'm not a big longevity records guy type stuff. It was fun. It was great, but I'm really looking forward to hopefully the next 20 wins next year.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you said off season is pretty big. How is recruitment going on this year? And you know, what are you excited about with potentially going into 2025?
Yeah, we had a great senior class this last year that graduated and moved forward, but that also means that we have a big freshman class coming in. We have one transfer on campus right now that transferred in from Texas State. She's doing an amazing job. Wow. And so Z's doing a great job in the middle for us, but we have 6 freshmen coming in and another transfer coming in probably as well next year. So we'll have 8 new people in the lineup on the roster and doing some amazing things. They're all playing well and they're very exciting going forward. I think 4 of the 6 freshmen won their state championships, I believe, and did some amazing things all the way down the line, all the awards that go with that. So we're excited about the future. And then obviously the 26 class is almost wrapped up too. We got 1 or 2 spots left in that 26 class, and those should be wrapped up in the next, hopefully, week or 2.
Okay. All right.
Some superstars in that class as well that we're really excited about. So these next few years are going to be super exciting, but we bring back a great group of young women that will be able to compete for a championship again. I mean, there's only been 1 year really since 2015 where we haven't won a championship. We didn't win the tournament championship this year, but we won the regular season championship. We won the regular season championship in 23. 22, and we've been winning constantly for a decade now. So that's pretty fun, and I think we're going to continue that trend with these young women we have. We have a 3-time All-American, first time ever, that is coming back for her senior year. That is amazing. It's not often you get one of those in your program, and she's going to continue that growth next year. She's working really hard in the gym right now and adding to her skill level. So we're really excited about that. Our setter of the year is coming back. Our libero, who led the conference in numerous stats, is coming back. We have a lot of different pieces of the puzzle that will be back in lineup, and then we'll have this influx of energy from this freshman class and these transfers that sort of like that second year in the program where we got this energy. This group that's here right now is going to be able to show them the path forward, and that energy hopefully pushes us over the top.
What you have this new class coming in. What is like some of the challenges with, getting them up to speed to where everyone else is? Is it like more just conditioning, or, just getting game time, or what are the things that you sometimes have to dial in to get them to focus on, or to help level them up to where you need them to be?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that there's a little bit of everything. It's just getting used to college in the first place. You're on your own. How are you going to handle yourself? How are you going to handle your time management? How are you going to handle your life?
Away from home? Yeah.
Same as every other student. And then you add the athletics part on top of it. Yep. So you got a little bit of that. And then on top of that, volleyball is so much of a team sport. So it's just getting on schedule and on tempo with your setters and hitters and passers. Everybody's got to be connected. The block has to be timed out right. Everything has to be so fine-tuned in order to win volleyball games. So that's the biggest fight in trying to get that all accomplished in such a short period of time as we look at a fall sport. Some of these spring sports get all fall to get prepared for it. Whether it's football or volleyball, you don't have time. You're just jumping right into it. And so that's our biggest struggle. I mean, these young ladies are great athletes. It's about controlling that athleticism, making sure they're working within our offense and within our defense so that we're achieving the team goals. And that's the bottom line. And like I said, we're lucky we have a great group of young women that are working really hard, including we're having a lot of meetings right now just about how to incorporate these freshmen once they get on campus and once they come in here. How are we going to lead them? Because that's going to be half of our team is going to be new people. And
You got a huge influx. I mean,
so how are we leading that group as we move forward? And so that's actually a point of emphasis as we're working through this spring of how we're going to do that, because that's more than athleticism or talent. That's not going to be lacking. The question of whether we're going to be successful or not is, are we going to be able to connect as a team and really go to battle together?
Yeah. Over the years, because you've been coaching for a while, what have you noticed has been some of the biggest changes within the game since you first started and to where the game is right now, other than the explosion of growth? But what can what are some of the changes you recognize?
Yeah, that's a long list. I've been coaching a long time. We already mentioned how old I was. The game is, we changed our scoring system. We used to be a 15-point. You could only serve when you score when you served. That was the only way you could make this score points. And now you're scoring a point every time. So it's put a new emphasis on serving and serving difficult. And the athleticism has shot through the roof. We used to, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, if you found somebody that could touch 10 feet, you were like, holy cow, that's amazing. They were going to an elite program. Now everybody, I think every single one of our hitters touched at least 10-3 last year. I think our lowest front row player touched 10-3.
And folks, just to keep that in sight, that is a basketball rim.
10 foot's a basketball rim.
So that's hops.
Yeah, no, volleyball is a vertical sport. People don't recognize that. There's a lot of volleyball players that can dunk all over the place. The highest we had was, Tamar Wells touched 10-8 for us. Our highest on the team this year was Dami. She touched 10-6. So, there's athletes all over the place doing some amazing things.
Yeah.
I think that athleticism has really grown over the past couple of years, and that's something that's really changed in the last decade. Like I said, the serving toughness has been killer. It's been really fast, really flat, clean serves going. And I don't know how much of your audience is going to recognize some of the technical things that have changed. So we'll leave some of that stuff out. But I think the scoring was huge. The addition of the libero, where we can have a person in a different color jersey played in the back row all the time, that gave these smaller volleyball players a chance to actually excel on the college level and professional level, where they have a place in the game a little bit more. So all those things were huge, but I think overall athleticism is probably the biggest thing, because I remember back in the day, we were actually just talking about this while we were out at a tournament, a bunch of us coaches, where, man, this girl's just average now and she can grab the rim, but these girls back in the day, that would have been automatically going to one of the top colleges.
That was the elite.
Yeah. You do that, you're done. You got to write your check anywhere you go.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, just to kind of bring this full circle, the Bison Express, we are, a supplemental arm for the athletics department, and we try to help fill in some of this funding gaps that sometimes that the university may have. But just want to get your input. How the importance of giving back, or what do you think, or what is the importance of Bison Express to the volleyball program?
Yeah, I think that Bison Express is a massive importance, and we've worked consistently for the last 13 years I've been here together to make sure these young women have the best opportunities and experiences possible. So whether that is a competitive experience on the court, or whether that is a living experience off the court, that doesn't really matter, but making sure that they lose nothing by coming to an HBCU or a smaller program if they're considering a Power 4 program. We've worked together with Bison Express for some equipment and some other things that have helped grow our program and keep us competitive. But I think the biggest thing we've worked with them with is our trip to Africa every 4 years. We take our team over to Botswana and Zimbabwe and are able to learn, really have a true education, a true cultural education about what the world is like and what that reality is. And it's been an amazing experience for every single player and coach that's gone over there, and support staff. And we've been able to interact with not only their embassy, their local players, their high school players, their national teams, but also other national teams in the region have come in and played us. And so and we've been able to also just sort of expand, like I said, from the education standpoint of what that continent really looks like, not through a media prism, but from reality, and getting to know those people directly, and visiting the University of Botswana and visiting our counterparts over there at that same age group and those same levels. So that's been an amazing experience for us all the way through. But I think Bison Express really gives a great starting point for everybody to get involved and really help these young women and men truly experience what Howard University has to offer. And I think I always have one thing that I like to throw in there is that if you went to Howard and you were an athlete, and if you think Howard shaped you into 1% of what you are today, 1%, could you give 1% of your salary back each year?
Yes.
And I think that's a reasonable ask. Yeah. And I don't think it's something that is above and beyond. And if that means that you're giving $20 a year, that means you're giving $20 a year. If you're a billionaire, hopefully you're giving back maybe a couple million a year. We'll take that too. But it's not, did it make you 1% you are today? And I think every single person that passed through this campus would agree to that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you had a good point. I think you wanted to piggyback on that because a lot of people I've brought on the podcast have always talked about how Howard has shaped them and how important Howard University has been for their life. How has Howard impacted your life, or what the significance has it been within your life?
It's been a massive significance, not just for my life, but for my whole family.
Mm-hmm.
When I got here, my kids were in preschool.
Wow. Okay.
And they've grown up going to Howard games and being a part of Howard University their whole lives. And they're in high school right now. So
Wow.
it's a different world now. But for me personally, I think it's allowed me to have a unique perspective, and it's something that people consistently ask me about no matter where I go and no matter what podcast I'm on or anything else. And it's something that I'll forever be grateful for. It's something that not a lot of people get to have this vision, especially for as long as I have. And the support that the university, from President Frederick and Vincent to our athletic director, Skip Perkins at the beginning, but most of my career has been Carrie Davis. They've been nothing but supportive to our program and to our athletes all the way through. And it's something that you come to this campus and you think about athletics, but it truly is that family environment that everybody wants to talk about.
Yep.
Every campus, and no matter what visit you go on, people want to talk about that. But Howard is that. The actions speak louder than the words.
Wow.
And so that's my favorite part about Howard.
Wow. Now, there's probably someone that is a parent or maybe even a student that is considering volleyball as a sport. What advice would you give them or give to that parent about having a child come into choose volleyball as a sport?
Choosing volleyball as a sport is a great idea. Obviously, it's booming. We've got 2 professional leagues starting right now. I would say the biggest thing is go watch volleyball. Go watch volleyball at the college level. If you're young enough, go watch it at the high school level, the college level, the professional level, and immerse yourself in it. I think this is in women's sports specifically, women don't watch as much sports as men do. And I think that is really the next great step for all of women's sports, whether it's the WNBA or volleyball, softball, lacrosse, whatever we're talking about. I think that the next big wave is going to be women starting to support women in those fields. And in the stands and watching on TV. And that's how you create your idols, whether it was watching Michael Jordan back then or Walter Payton to now watching some of the elite, no matter who you're talking about, whether it's Angel Reese or whoever. I think the biggest parts of this are trying to find people that you admire and you want to emulate. So for volleyball, I would say that's the starting point. And I would say volleyball is obviously the greatest sport. I mean, there's no question about that. So pick up a volleyball, go head out to your local YMCA and start learning how to play. I mean, it's a sport that's all inclusive. One of the weird parts about volleyball is it's a little harder to get into until junior high. You have to have a lot of coordination for volleyball in order for it to work. But there's some 5-year-old, 6-year-old leagues out there. And if you start playing young, you're going to be pretty good by the time you get a little bit older, because most people start playing a little bit older. So it's a great sport, and that's why it's booming all the time.
Yeah. Well, I did want to just wrap up and how can people follow you or stay connected with you and some of the movements that you have going on?
Yeah, I think obviously our website through the athletic department is always up there, but we also have a Instagram page. Howard Volleyball is on Instagram, as well as I think we have a TikTok. We have all sorts of things ways you can connect with us. If you just search Howard Volleyball, you'll see that we were actually the first sport of any HBCU at all to be verified, the little blue check mark.
Oh yeah, there we go.
So that was our claim to fame. One of our old assistant coaches got that.
You can put that on your resume too.
That wasn't on my cause. That was on her watch. She got that done, and that was amazing. And so that was a big deal back in the day. So really excited about that. And yeah, so we're on every single platform you could find. Howard Volleyball is there, from Facebook to Instagram it depends on what generation I think you are.
Well, Coach, thanks for jumping on tonight. We definitely appreciate you jumping on to the Bison Break podcast and sharing your experience and talk about the great sport of volleyball. So we appreciate everything coming up too.
Appreciate
going into 2026. Thank you for watching another edition of the Bison Break podcast. We want to thank today's guest, Coach Shaun Kupferberg, for coming on and, explaining his background, his experience, and what led him into coaching and what led him to the Mecca here at Howard University. Continue to support and follow us out on your favorite social media outlet at Bison Express, or you can visit our website, bisonexpress.org. I'm your host, Rob Black Jr., and I hope to see you on the other side of the goals.